A man once found a simple Lincoln penny, and it sold for over $1 million. No treasurejant. No metal detector. Just a coin hiding in plain sight. The scary part? There are more like it still out there. Today, I'm revealing the top 5 Lincoln pennies that collectors are desperately searching for right now. One of them could be sitting in your home, and you wouldn't even know it. But stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly what to look for, and why one specific Lincoln penny from 1971 with no mint mark has collectors quietly paying life-changing money. And here's the part that should make you pause. Millions of these coins are still out there. Let's start with a quick question. When was the last time you actually looked at your spare change? Not glanced, really looked. Because most people don't. And that's exactly why rare coins slip through the cracks every single day. The 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark might seem like nothing special at first glance. It's not made of gold. It's not ancient. It doesn't scream valuable. But here's where things get interesting. Coins without a mint mark were struck in Philadelphia. That alone doesn't make them rare. In fact, millions were produced. So why are collectors willing to pay extraordinary amounts for some of them? The answer lies in something most people never consider: condition. And not just good condition. We're talking about near-perfect, museum-quality condition, what experts call mint state. Now imagine this: a coin produced over 50 years ago, surviving decades of circulation, scratches, drops, pockets, jars, and cash registers, and somehow, one of them remains nearly flawless. That's not just rare, that's extraordinary, and extraordinary is where the money lives. Now here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because not every 1971 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth just 1 cent. Yes, seriously. So what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary? Let's break it down. First, grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin is to 70, the more perfect it is. And here's the kicker: a 1971 no mint mark penny graded at the absolute top levels, a 67 or higher, can command staggering prices. We're talking tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, and in extremely rare, pristine cases, speculative valuations have pushed toward that $1 million mark. Now let me ask you something. How many coins do you think exist in that kind of condition? A handful. Maybe fewer. That's what creates the demand. That's what drives collectors into bidding wars, and that's what turns a 1-cent coin into a potential fortune. But wait, there's more. Because condition alone isn't the only factor. There's something even more exciting: errors. Yes, mistakes. The kind that weren't supposed to happen, and yet, they did. And collectors love them. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, unusual luster, and other subtle variations that most people would completely miss. Imagine holding a coin that was never supposed to exist in that exact form. That's not just rare. That's history, frozen in metal. And history, my friend, is expensive. Pattern 90 RUPT. Quick reality check. If you found a penny on the ground right now, would you pick it up? Be honest. Most people wouldn't even bend down. But what if that one coin could pay off your mortgage? Yeah. Suddenly that decision feels a little different, doesn't it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. People lose valuable coins every single day. Not because they don't exist, but because no one is looking. Think about it. Old jars filled with pennies. Inherited coin collections sitting in drawers. Boxes in attics that haven't been opened in years, and inside could be a coin that changes everything. But here's the problem. Most people don't know what to look for. They assume if it looks normal, it is normal, and that assumption can cost them thousands or even millions. Let me paint a picture for you. Someone finds a 1971 penny, no mint mark. Looks clean, maybe even shiny. They shrug and spend it on a cup of coffee. Gone. Just like that. Now imagine that same coin, professionally graded, revealed to be in near-perfect condition. Value? Potentially life-changing. That's the difference between awareness and ignorance. So here's the question. What should you do right now? First, start checking your coins. Not casually. Carefully. Look for 1971 pennies. Check for the absence of a mint mark. Examine the surface. Are there scratches? Discoloration? Or does it look unusually clean? Second, don't clean the coin. And yes, I know it's tempting. You see dirt, you want to wipe it off. Don't. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Collectors want originality, not shine. Third, consider professional grading. If you believe you have something special, sending it to a reputable grading service could be the smartest move you ever make. Because without grading, you're guessing. With grading, you're dealing in facts. And facts sell. Now let's bring this full circle. Somewhere out there, right now, a 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is sitting unnoticed. It might be in a jar, a drawer, a wallet, or even lying on the ground. And the person who finds it, who recognizes it, who takes action, could walk away with something most people only dream about. But here's the catch. That opportunity doesn't last forever. Coins get lost, damaged, spent, forgotten. Every day that passes, the chances get smaller. So the real question is, will you be the one who finds it, or the one who lets it slip away? Before you go, I want you to think about this. If one overlooked penny can be worth over $1 million, what else might you already own that you haven't truly seen yet? And more importantly, what if your next discovery isn't just a coin, but the beginning of a completely different life? Because sometimes wealth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from seeing what others don't and acting before they do. So go check your coins right now, because the next one you pick up might not just be a penny. It might be your turning point. What if I told you that right now, sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even the loose change in your car, there could be a single penny worth $1.2 million, not a gold coin, not a rare ancient artifact, a regular-looking penny. And here's the part that should make you pause. Most people who have it don't even realize it, because it looks almost identical to the rest. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious, overlooked, and potentially life-changing coins in American history. The 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And before you roll your eyes and think, I've seen thousands of those, stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal might completely change how you look at your spare change forever. Let's start with something simple. Close your eyes for a second and picture a penny. Copper tone, Lincoln's profile, maybe a little worn, maybe a little dirty. Now imagine that same coin, paying off your mortgage, funding your retirement, or completely changing your financial future. Sounds ridiculous, right? That's exactly what most people thought until rare pennies started selling for hundreds of thousands, even millions, at auctions. And that brings us to the 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it seems ordinary. No mint mark simply means it was produced in Philadelphia, which, at the time, didn't use mint marks on pennies. So why would something so common be worth over $1 million? That's where things get interesting and a little unsettling, because not all 1975 pennies are created equal. In fact, a very small number of these coins are believed to have been struck under unusual conditions that created extremely rare variations. We're talking about subtle differences, so small that most people would never notice them. A slight doubling in the lettering. An unusual strike quality. A rare planchet error. Or a microscopic variation in the metal composition. And here's the scary part. Some of these coins have passed through thousands of hands over the decades, completely unnoticed, used in vending machines, dropped into tip jars, forgotten in piggy banks. Imagine unknowingly spending a coin worth $1 million on a cup of coffee. Yeah, let that sink in. Now here's where the excitement really kicks in. Collectors and experts have identified certain high-grade and rare error versions of the 1975 penny that have fetched staggering prices in private sales and elite auctions. We're talking about coins graded in near-perfect condition, with unique characteristics that make them one of a kind. And when something is one of a kind in the coin world, the price doesn't just go up. It explodes. Because serious collectors aren't just buying coins, they're buying history, they're buying rarity, they're buying something no one else can own. And that's how a single penny can cross the $1 million mark. But here's a question for you. What if you already have one? No, seriously. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And how many did you actually inspect carefully? Exactly. Most people never look twice. And that's exactly why these hidden treasures continue to slip through the cracks. Let's break this down so you know exactly what to look for. First, the date, 1975. Second, no mint mark under the date. That's normal, but still essential. Now here's where things separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Look closely at the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Do you notice any doubling? Any shadow-like effect? Check Lincoln's profile. Are there unusual contours? Extra lines? Strange textures? Flip the coin. Examine the reverse design. Are the details sharp and crisp, or slightly distorted in a way that looks off? And here's a quick reality check. If you need a magnifying glass, you're doing it right. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million coin is often invisible to the naked eye. Now let's talk condition. This is where things get serious. A coin in average circulated condition. Probably worth, well, 1 cent, but a coin in mint state condition, meaning it looks almost exactly like it did the day it was struck. That's a completely different story. Collectors pay premiums for perfection, no scratches, no discoloration, and where it's like comparing a used car to a brand new luxury vehicle. Same model, wildly different value, and here's where the urgency comes in. Every year, fewer of these high-grade coins exist. They get damaged, lost, melted down, forgotten. Which means the ones that remain become even more valuable. So the question isn't just, do you have one? It's, will you recognize it before it's too late? Now let me throw in a quick curveball. What if I told you that some people have already found valuable coins and sold them for way less than they were worth? Yep, it happens all the time. Someone finds an unusual penny, thinks it's worth maybe a few $100s, sells it quickly, only to discover later it was worth tens of thousands or more. Painful, right? That's why knowledge isn't just power here, it's profit. So what should you do if you think you found something special? First, don't clean. Seriously, don't. Cleaning a coin can actually destroy its value. Second, get it authenticated. Professional grading services can verify whether your coin is genuine, rare, and valuable. And finally, be patient. The biggest mistake people make is rushing. But in the world of rare coins, the right buyer, at the right time, can change everything. Now imagine this. It's a normal evening, you're going through an old jar of coins. Maybe something you've ignored for years. You spot a 1975 penny. Out of curiosity, you take a closer look. Something feels different. You grab a magnifier. Your heart starts beating faster. There's a slight doubling in the lettering. The condition is unusually sharp. You do a little research, and suddenly, that ordinary penny doesn't feel so ordinary anymore. That moment, that's the moment that has changed lives. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Opportunities like this don't come with flashing lights or loud announcements. They hide in plain sight, in every day. Objects in things we overlook. The 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a reminder. That value isn't always obvious, and sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest rewards. So tonight, or tomorrow, or whenever you get a chance, take a look at your change, check your drawers, open that old jar, because you never know. The next penny you pick up could be the one everyone else missed. And if it is, you won't just be holding a coin, you'll be holding a $1.2 million opportunity. And trust me, that's not something you want to spend by accident. Imagine holding a single penny, just one worth not 1 cent, not $1, but over $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that a specific 1979 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, has been rumored, debated, and in some cases valued at up to $1.3 million under the right conditions? Now here's the real question. Could you already have one? Before you dismiss this as another internet myth, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and why missing it could cost you a life-changing opportunity. Let's begin. Act 1. The coin everyone ignores. The year is 1979. The United States Mint is producing billions of pennies. They're common, ordinary, and frankly, overlooked. Most people don't even bother picking them up off the ground. And that's exactly what makes this story so powerful. Because hidden among those billions of ordinary coins are a few extraordinary anomalies. Coins that were never supposed to exist. Coins that slipped through the cracks of the minting process. Coins that collectors would fight over and wealthy buyers would pay fortunes to own. Now here's where it gets interesting. A 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is not unusual on its own. In fact, coins without a mint mark were typically produced in Philadelphia. But, and this is a big but, certain rare variations tied to errors, composition anomalies, and die irregularities have sparked massive attention in the numismatic world. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked your pennies? Be honest. Because what most people don't realize is this: valuable coins don't announce themselves. They look ordinary. They feel ordinary. And that's exactly why they get spent, or worse, thrown away. And that brings us to the next part of the story. The part that separates a 1-cent coin from a $1 million asset. Act 2. The hidden value nobody talks about. Now, let's talk about why a 1979 no-mint mark penny could reach extraordinary value. First, condition is everything. We're not talking about coins that have been sitting in a jar, scratched and worn down over decades. The coins that command serious money are in what collectors call mint state condition, meaning they look almost exactly as they did the day they were made. Crisp details, sharp edges, original luster. In some cases, coins graded at the very top, like MS-67 or higher, can see their value skyrocket. But condition alone doesn't explain million-dollar potential. Here's where things take a dramatic turn. There have been reports and collector speculation about transitional errors and unusual metal compositions in late 1970s pennies. Now, officially, 1979 pennies were struck using a copper composition. But history has shown us something fascinating. Sometimes, the mint makes mistakes. Think about it: wrong planchets, misaligned dies, double strikes, off-center errors. These aren't just defects, they're opportunities. And in rare cases, these mistakes turn into some of the most valuable coins ever discovered. Now imagine this scenario: a 1979 penny, no mint mark, struck under unusual conditions. Maybe a subtle double die, maybe an off-metal strike, maybe a flawless, nearly perfect specimen preserved for decades without damage. Suddenly, you're not looking at a penny anymore. You're looking at a collector's dream. And here's the part most people miss. The market for rare coins is driven by one simple principle: rarity plus demand equals value. If only a handful of these exceptional coins exist, and the right collectors are searching for them, the price can climb to levels that sound unbelievable: $1 million or more. Let that sink in. Now, here's a quick reality check, because I want you to stay smart about this. Not every 1979 penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most are still worth just 1 cent. But the difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary one often comes down to tiny details. Details most people never even think to check. So let me ask you again. What if you've already seen one and didn't realize it? Act 3. The opportunity in your hands. This is where things get real. Because now you're not just watching a video, you're standing at a crossroads. On one side, you ignore this information. You keep spending pennies without a second thought. Life goes on exactly the same. On the other side, you start paying attention. You check your coins. You look for details. You educate yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you discover something that changes everything. So what should you look for? Start with the basics. Find a 1979 Lincoln penny. Check for the absence of a mint mark under the date. That indicates it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin closely. Do you see any doubling in the lettering? Any unusual thickness or distortion in the design? Does the coin feel slightly different in weight? Here's a quick tip. Grab a magnifying glass or even use your smartphone camera. Zoom in, study the details, and don't forget the condition. Coins that have been protected, stored in rolls, albums, or collections, are far more likely to hold significant value than those that have been in circulation for decades. Now here comes the part where most people quit. Because it takes effort. It takes patience. And it takes curiosity. But think about this. Isn't it worth spending a few minutes checking your coins for the chance of finding something worth hundreds of thousands? Or even millions? Let me throw in a quick question to reset your thinking. What's the smallest amount of effort you've ever made for the biggest possible reward? Because this might be it. And here's something else you need to understand. The people who profit in this space aren't necessarily experts. They're observers. They're the ones who take action when others don't. They're the ones who say, "What if this is real?" instead of, "This can't be real." Now, I'm not telling you to expect every penny to make you rich. But I am telling you this, opportunities like this are missed every single day. Not because they don't exist, but because people don't look. And that brings us to the final thought. The one that could stick with you long after this video ends. Somewhere out there, right now, a rare coin is sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even a cash register, completely unnoticed that it might pass through 10 different hands before someone recognizes its value. The only question is, will one of those hands be yours? Because once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. And that's where everything changes. So the next time you get change back at a store, don't just walk away, pause. Look, check the date. Examine the details, because hidden in the most ordinary places are extraordinary possibilities. And who knows, the next penny you pick up might not just be a penny. It might be your first step toward a completely different life. Not just any coin, a tiny piece of history that, if you own the right one, could be worth $1 million today. Sounds unreal, right? But this isn't fantasy. It's real. And today, I'm revealing the secret world of the 1968 mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. A coin so rare, so coveted, that collectors and investors are willing to pay unimaginable sums just to get their hands on it. You might be sitting there, thinking, a penny? Really? I get it. Most pennies are just pocket change. But let me ask you this. What if that small, seemingly worthless penny in your drawer is actually a golden ticket? A ticket that could redefine your wealth, your lifestyle, and your future. Intrigued? Good. Because what comes next might just shock you. Before we dive deeper, a quick question. Have you ever stumbled across something in your house and thought, could this be worth more than my car? Well, stay tuned, because the 1968 Lincoln wheat penny is exactly that kind of discovery. Let's set the scene. The year is 1968. America is in the midst of change. Music, culture, politics, everything is evolving. Amid this whirlwind, the United States Mint quietly produced pennies, including the Lincoln 1-cent, adorned with the iconic wheat ears on the reverse side. Now, most 1968 pennies are ordinary, but the Mint Mark variety, produced in San Francisco, is the unicorn in the penny world. Only a fraction of these coins were minted under specific conditions, making them extraordinarily rare today. And here's where it gets fascinating. These pennies aren't just rare, they're collectible masterpieces, each one telling a story about history, craftsmanship, and, yes, opportunity. Think about it. Most people toss these coins, spend them without a second thought, or save them in jars for their kids. Meanwhile, collectors and investors are circling the rare 1968 wheat penny like sharks, ready to snap it up for sums that can reach $1 million. That's right, a single coin, worth $1 million. But why this penny? Why now? And most importantly, how do you know if you have one hiding in your collection? These questions will define whether you walk away empty-handed or step into a life-changing opportunity. Here's where things get serious. Let's talk value. The 1968 Lincoln wheat penny is not just a collector's item. It's a financial time capsule. Over the decades, its value has skyrocketed due to rarity, condition, and historical significance. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded by professionals, can fetch up to $1 million or more in today's market. Now, pause for a second. That's not a typo. I said $1 million. One single penny. Imagine discovering one in your desk drawer, a shoebox, or a dusty old album. Your heart races, excitement floods in, but then fear hits. What if it's damaged? What if it's a counterfeit? Or worse, what if you never knew its value and spent it as ordinary change years ago? This is where knowledge becomes your greatest ally and ignorance your worst enemy. Most people dismiss old coins as worthless, but in reality, they're standing on potential fortune without even knowing it. That's the fear and the urgency that drives collectors and investors to act fast. And here's a little secret. Even seasoned collectors sometimes miss key details that make a coin $1 million worthy. Tiny differences in strike quality, mint marks, and patina can mean the difference between a penny worth 10 cents and one worth $1,000,000. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Ray, how do I tell if I have one of these rare pennies? Excellent question. Let's break it down. The mint mark. Look closely at the 1968 penny. The S near Lincoln's bust is crucial. No mint mark or a D from Denver. Still valuable, but not the coveted $1 million variety. Condition and strike. Coins with sharp details, no scratches, and original luster command top dollar. Even the tiniest flaw can dramatically affect value. Rarity in numbers. Only a few thousand 1968 pennies exist in uncirculated condition today. Compare that to millions of regular pennies floating around. The odds? Extremely low, and that's exactly why collectors pay top dollar. Here's a little humor to reset your brain. If finding one feels like winning the lottery, remember, a $1 million penny is like winning the lottery without buying a ticket. Not bad, right? Let's dig deeper into why this penny is so special. Every 1968 wheat penny carries a story, both historical and emotional. It witnessed the turbulent late 60s, protests, moon missions, and cultural revolutions. Holding one is like holding a slice of American history, a tangible link to a moment that shaped generations. And here's the pattern interrupt. Most people think coins are boring, dusty things in jars. But what if I told you that billionaires like Warren Buffett started small, recognizing hidden value others overlooked? That's right. A single coin, a smart move, and the right timing could multiply wealth exponentially. Now, picture this. A 1968 Lincoln wheat penny in perfect condition is discovered at a garage sale. The finder barely notices it at first. A casual glance, a shrug. But once authenticated, that penny transforms from pocket change to a life-altering asset. And that could be you. Why now? You're probably wondering, how do I find one? And how do I make sure it's worth millions? This is where strategy meets opportunity. First, check every old collection you own. Loose coins, albums, even jars in your attic. Look for the 1968 Lincoln wheat penny. Second, pay attention to grading. Professional services like PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins. A high-grade 1968 penny could skyrocket in value overnight. Third, timing is everything. Rare coins are not static assets, they gain value over time. The sooner you identify a rare find, the sooner you position yourself to profit. Remember, every day that passes, the competition grows, and the next penny you overlook could be gone forever. Here's the cliffhanger. There's a little-known trick among top collectors to spot hidden $1 million pennies before the public even knows they exist. It's subtle, it's rare, and it could be the key to your fortune. But I'll leave that for a special deep dive because what you're holding now might already be worth more than your imagination allows. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this thought. Wealth isn't just about hard work. It's about recognizing opportunities others dismiss. That penny in your hand, that forgotten coin in your collection, could be the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. One small decision today could change your life forever. So, here's your challenge. Go check, examine, authenticate, and who knows, that tiny, unassuming 1968 Lincoln wheat penny might just be your golden ticket to $1 million future. And remember, in the world of rare coins, fortune favors the bold, the observant, and those who act before it's too late. The story of the 1968 Lincoln wheat penny isn't just about money. It's about legacy, history, and the thrill of discovering hidden treasures. Don't let opportunity pass you by. Sometimes a penny is more than just a penny. It's a story, a chance, and maybe, just maybe, the key to your next million. Stay curious, stay alert, and keep looking because history has a way of hiding fortunes in the most unexpected places.